Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we examine a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is February 19th. On this day in 1993, 12-year-old Jennifer Odom disappeared after stepping off of her school bus in rural Florida. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through her community and launched a massive search effort. But 6 days later, the worst fears of her family and friends were realized. Jennifer was found murdered. For years, her case remained cold, leads dried up, and investigators were left with frustrating dead ends. But thanks to persistent detectives and advancements in DNA technology, there has finally been a breakthrough in her case. Today, we're going to revisit Jennifer's life, her abduction and murder, and the investigation that spanned 30 years before finally leading to an arrest. Let's get started. Jennifer Renee Odom was a bright and talented 7th grader who grew up in the small town of St. Joseph, Florida, near Dade City. She loved music and played the clarinet in her school band. She was known for her kindness, her laughter, and the close bond that she had with her family. At just 12 years old, Jennifer had her whole life ahead of her. But on February 19th, 1993, everything changed. That day started out just like any other Friday. Jennifer went to school at Thomas E. Waitman Middle School, where she spent the day with her friends and attended classes. In the afternoon, she boarded the bus for home and chatted and laughed with her classmates on the way. At around 3 p.m., Jennifer stepped off the bus, waved goodbye to her friends, and made the short 200-yard walk to her home. But she never made it. Jennifer's family knew something was wrong almost immediately. She was responsible, reliable, and always stuck to her routine. When she didn't walk through the front door within minutes of getting off the bus, concern turned into panic. As the minutes ticked by, her parents searched the area, just hoping she had stopped to chat with a neighbor. But Jennifer was nowhere to be found. By that evening, they had called the Pasco County Sheriff's Office and a massive search operation was launched. Hundreds of volunteers, classmates, neighbors, and even complete strangers joined law enforcement in combing through fields, woods, and nearby waterways. Helicopters scanned from above while canine teams searched on the ground. One chilling lead quickly emerged. Several witnesses reported seeing an older model, faded blue pickup truck lingering near Jennifer's bus stop around the time of her disappearance. Some of the children on her bus even remembered seeing the vehicle following Jennifer as she walked toward her house. This clue became a key focus of the investigation, and the authorities urged the public to come forward with any information that they might have about this blue truck or Jennifer or anything that anybody could have seen. But despite the widespread search efforts and media attention, Jennifer was still nowhere to be found, and the blue truck remained elusive. Then, 6 days later, the search came to a devastating end. On February 25th, 1993, a couple exploring an abandoned orange grove in Hernando County, about 10 miles from Jennifer's home, made a horrifying discovery. Jennifer's lifeless body was found. She had been brutally assaulted and murdered. The autopsy revealed that she had suffered blunt force trauma to her head and had been sexually assaulted before her death. Investigators scoured the crime scene, collecting fibers, soil samples, and possible DNA evidence in the hope of identifying the person responsible for this horrific crime. But at the time, forensic technology was still pretty limited and leads were scarce. In the immediate aftermath of her discovery, a task force comprising local, state, and federal agencies was established to investigate Jennifer's murder. The initial focus was on that faded blue pickup truck spotted near the abduction site. Investigators received numerous tips about similar vehicles, which led to interviews and background checks on several people. However, none of these leads actually resulted in a viable suspect. The case, though it was still very much active, began to slowly fade into the background as the months turned into years. Jennifer's case remained unsolved, but investigators never gave up. In 1995, 2 years after her murder, another clue surfaced. A couple hunting for scrap metal in a wooded area of Hernando County, again just 10 miles from her home and the same county where her body was found, discovered her missing book bag and clarinet case. Forensic experts analyzed the items, searching for fingerprints or DNA. While some prints were found, they didn't match anybody who was in their database. So again, years passed. Suspects were questioned, composite sketches were drawn, and investigators turned to behavioral profiling in an attempt to narrow down their suspect list. But with no definitive DNA match, Jennifer's case remained unsolved. Then, in 2015, there was a breakthrough. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE, tested DNA from a separate 1992 case involving the abduction and sexual assault of a 17-year-old girl in Pasco County. And again, this is a year before Jennifer's abduction and in the same county. The DNA from that case did have a match. A man named Jeffrey Norman Crum. Crum had a long history of violent crimes dating back to the 1980s. After his DNA linked him to the 1992 assault, he was arrested and later sentenced to 2 life terms in prison. This got the attention of Jennifer's investigators because the details of his previous crime closely mirrored Jennifer's abduction. Crum also had a faded blue pickup truck at the time of Jennifer's disappearance, which matched the description given by witnesses in 1993. He was also familiar with the area where Jennifer was taken and later found. Beyond that, he had a history of violent sexual assaults. All of this together made him their prime suspect. On July 24th, 2023, after years of painstaking investigation, a grand jury indicted Crum on charges of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and sexual battery in Jennifer's case. Hernando County Sheriff Al Ninhus praised the decades-long efforts of investigators, saying, quote, "This case never left our minds, and we never gave up," end quote. State Attorney Bill Gladson announced they would seek the death penalty in Jennifer's case due to the severity and brutality of her murder. For Jennifer's family, the arrest brought long-awaited answers, but it, of course, couldn't erase the pain of their loss. Jennifer Odom's abduction and murder forever changed her community. For decades, fear lingered. The thought that a predator had lived among them free for so long haunted everyone. Jennifer's parents, teachers, and friends never stopped fighting for justice. When Crum was arrested, Jennifer's family released a statement thanking law enforcement and their community for never giving up hope. This case is a powerful reminder that no matter how much time has passed, justice is always worth fighting for. For 30 years, Jennifer Odom's family wondered, waited, and hoped for answers. And now they finally know the truth. Though a trial date still hasn't been set in Jennifer's case as of this recording, Jeffrey Crum is currently serving those 2 life sentences for the other Pasco County assault, and he won't be able to hurt anyone else. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. In the meantime, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day, True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!